The night was silent, yet heavy with tension. The human man, Daniel, stood alone under the pale light of the moon. He had been walking home from his small job at the docks when the air around him suddenly shifted. A strange vibration moved through the ground. The street lights flickered, one after another, until darkness wrapped the entire road. His breath caught in his throat as he looked up. Something was there. Something that was not supposed to exist. A massive shadow covered the stars. The clouds above tore apart like paper, revealing a shape far too large, far too perfect to be anything made by human hands. The object floated silently, its surface glowing with faint lines of silver light. It looked alive, breathing, pulsing with an energy that made his skin shiver. Before Daniel could even scream, a beam of white light shot down from the sky. It surrounded him, pulling his body upward with a force he could not fight. His legs kicked helplessly. His arms stretched toward the ground, but gravity no longer obeyed him. The last sound he heard from Earth was the breaking of glass as the street lamp burst under the pressure of that light. When his eyes opened again, he was no longer on the street. He was inside something vast and endless. The walls glowed like liquid metal. The floor was so smooth it reflected his own pale face. The air was thin, almost too clean, and it carried a faint sweet smell that made his head spin. He was not alone. Figures appeared around him. Tall, slender shapes with silver skin and dark, unblinking eyes. Their movements were calm, but their presence made his heart thunder in his chest. They looked at him as if he was fragile glass. Not dangerous. Not powerful. Only strange. Daniel backed away until his shoulders hit the wall. His voice cracked as he tried to speak. "Where am I? What do you want from me?" None of them answered. They only tilted their heads as if listening to something he could not hear. Then they stepped aside, creating a path. The air grew colder. From the shadows of the corridor, a figure began to move toward him. She was taller than the rest. Her body was wrapped in silver armor that shimmered like a river under the sun. Her crown was made of living crystal, glowing faintly with purple fire. Her face was sharper, more regal, her eyes brighter than the stars outside. This was no ordinary alien. This was their ruler. Their queen. Daniel froze where he stood. His breath grew shallow, trapped in his chest. Every step she took echoed like thunder in the vast chamber. Her people lowered their heads as she passed them, but her gaze never left him. When she finally stopped, she was only a few feet away. Her voice was calm, yet powerful, carrying the weight of command. "Human," she said. "You will answer to me." Daniel's throat tightened. He wanted to scream, to run, but his body betrayed him. His voice was barely more than a whisper. "What do you want from me?" The queen studied him in silence. Her eyes moved over his face, his arms, his trembling hands. She did not blink. She did not show fear or anger. Instead, there was curiosity. A deep hunger to understand what stood before her. "You," she said at last. "You are my sample." The words struck him like ice. He shook his head, pressing against the wall as if it would swallow him whole. "Sample? What do you mean? I am not an experiment. I am not a thing." Her lips curved into the faintest trace of a smile, though it was not cruel. It was almost gentle. "You are not a thing. You are human. That is why you are valuable. That is why you are mine." The chamber grew silent. The soldiers did not move. Daniel could hear his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. The word "mine" clung to him like chains. His mind raced with images of sharp blades, of tables under bright lights, of his body torn apart in the name of science. Fear burned through him, hot and wild. He wanted to fight, but against her, against all of them, he had no power. The queen lifted her hand. A beam of purple light touched his skin, soft but firm, pulling him forward. His feet moved without his command, bringing him closer to her. He tried to resist, but the force was too strong. Now, only inches separated them. Her eyes locked onto his, unblinking, unshakable. "Do not fear. You will not be harmed." You will be studied. You will be known. And you will belong to me. Her voice was not a threat, yet it shook him more than any blade could. Daniel's breath came fast. His heart felt as if it would tear from his chest. He stood frozen before the alien queen, unsure if this was the beginning of his end, or the start of something far more terrifying. The silence stretched. The chamber watched. The queen waited. And Daniel realized, with a chill crawling down his spine, that escape was no longer possible. Daniel woke with a gasp. The air around him felt different, lighter, almost too perfect to breathe. He was lying on a smooth surface that glowed faintly beneath his body. The light came not from lamps but from the very walls, a gentle pulse that seemed to follow his heartbeat. He sat up slowly, his head spinning. The chamber was larger than any room he had ever seen. Its ceiling curved high above, filled with moving symbols that changed shape whenever he tried to focus on them. It was as if the walls themselves were alive, whispering in a language he could not understand. Daniel's first thought was escape. He slid off the glowing platform and touched the floor. It felt cool, softer than stone yet harder than wood. He moved quickly toward the nearest wall, running his hands over the smooth surface, searching for a door. There was nothing. No lines, no openings. He was trapped. Then the air shifted again. A sound like a soft chime filled the room. The surface of the wall rippled like water, and a figure stepped through. It was her. The queen. Daniel froze, every muscle locking in place. She was taller than he remembered, her silver armor glinting with light that had no source. Her crown burned faintly with violet fire, yet her expression was calm. Those piercing eyes studied him, not with cruelty, but with something else. Curiosity. She raised her hand. A beam of faint purple light circled his body, scanning him from head to toe. Daniel felt a tingling sensation race across his skin. He flinched, but there was no pain. Only warmth, as if invisible hands were tracing every part of him. "What are you doing to me?" His voice cracked, echoing in the chamber. The queen tilted her head. Her voice was steady, cold yet oddly gentle. "I am learning. Your body is unlike any creature we have known. It heals. It resists. It carries emotion not only in thought but in flesh." Daniel shook his head in disbelief. "I'm just a man. I am nothing special." Her eyes narrowed, almost amused. "You are wrong. Humanity is rare. We have studied countless species. None fight as hard as you do. None break as easily, yet still stand again. You are fragile, yet you survive. That is power." Daniel clenched his fists. He hated the way she spoke of him, as if he was not a person but a puzzle to solve. Yet something in her voice carried weight. It was not empty praise. It was fascination. The queen moved closer. Daniel tried to step back, but his feet would not obey. The floor itself seemed to hold him in place. She stopped only a few steps away, her height forcing him to look up into her glowing eyes. "Why do you fight each other?" she asked suddenly. "Why do you love? Why do you sacrifice for those who give nothing in return? Tell me, human, why do you feel so much pain for the sake of another?" The questions hit him harder than the light had. He swallowed, his throat dry. "Because we have to. Because if we don't, then what are we? We are not machines. We are not just bodies. We are people. And people need each other." For the first time, the queen's expression shifted. It was only a flicker, but Daniel saw it. A softness, a shadow of something she was not supposed to show. She stepped back, her gaze never leaving him. "Interesting. You speak as if connection is strength. Yet I see weakness. Pain. Betrayal. Death. Why keep such things alive in your hearts?" Daniel breathed deeply, forcing his fear aside. "Because love makes us more than survival. Without it, life means nothing." Silence filled the chamber. The queen turned her head slightly, as if listening to something Daniel could not hear. When she looked at him again, her eyes glowed brighter. "You will stay here. You will teach me everything." Not with your words, but with your life. I will learn how you breathe, how you think, how you break, and how you love. Daniel's blood ran cold. His voice shook. You can't just keep me like some animal. Her lips curved, not quite a smile, not quite a frown. You are not an animal. You are a treasure. And treasures are never let go. With a wave of her hand, the glowing platform behind him shifted. Strange shapes rose from its surface, forming a bed, a table, and something like a chair. The room was no longer a prison cell. It was a cage made to look like a home. Daniel felt the weight of her power pressing on him. He was no longer just a man. He was a subject, a mystery, a possession. Yet in her voice, beneath the command, he heard something dangerous. Not just curiosity. Not just research. Something deeper was forming. Something he could not yet name. The Queen turned toward the wall. With a final glance at him, she spoke softly. Sleep, human. Tomorrow, the true experiment begins. The wall rippled, and she was gone. Daniel stood in the silence of the chamber, his heart racing. He wanted to escape, but the thought that shook him most was not fear of the experiment. It was the memory of her eyes staring at him not with hatred, but with something far more dangerous. Daniel no longer counted the days. The chamber had no windows, no sunrise, no sunset. Only the glow of the walls and the silent hum of machines that seemed to breathe around him. What felt like weeks might have been only days, or perhaps longer. Time itself had become a blur. The Queen visited often. At first, her presence filled him with fear. Every time the wall rippled and she stepped inside, his heart raced. Her height, her armor, the glow of her crown, all of it reminded him that she was not human, not even close. She was power, wrapped in silver and fire. Yet something strange began to happen. She stopped bringing guards. At first, there were always 2 or 3 of her silent soldiers who watched from the corners. But soon she dismissed them with a wave of her hand, leaving only her and Daniel in the chamber. She would sit on the strange chair, her long fingers tapping against its surface, and she would simply watch him. The silence was heavy. Daniel would eat the strange glowing food they gave him, or sit on the edge of the platform, pretending not to care. But he could feel her eyes on him, burning with curiosity. One day he snapped. Why do you keep staring at me? I am not a show for your amusement. To his surprise, she did not punish him. She leaned forward, her eyes sharp, yet not cruel. Because you are different. Your body tells me one truth. Your voice tells me another. But your eyes... She paused, as if searching for the right words. Your eyes are full of war, yet also full of hope. Daniel froze. He did not expect such words. He wanted to argue, but his voice failed. He looked away, his chest heavy. The Queen stood and moved closer. He tensed as she reached out, her hand hovering just above his arm. She did not touch him, but the warmth of her presence was enough to send a shiver through him. Tell me, she whispered. What does it mean to love? The question pierced him like a blade. He turned sharply to face her. Why do you want to know that? Her expression did not change. Because you risk everything for it. You die for it. You kill for it. Entire wars begin with this one word. Love. Yet you call it beauty. Explain it to me. Daniel shook his head. You cannot study love. You cannot trap it in a cage. It is not something you cut open and examine. Love is, when you see someone as more than yourself. When you would suffer so they don't have to. When their life matters more than your own. Her eyes softened, only for a moment. Then she stepped back. Strange. Such a thing would destroy an empire. Yet you carry it as if it is strength. Daniel laughed bitterly. Because it is strength. She tilted her head, watching him again in silence. That silence stretched until Daniel could no longer bear it. Finally, he spoke, his voice lower now. Why are you so interested in me? I am not special. I am not a leader or a warrior. I am just a man who worked on docks. The Queen's answer came slowly. Because you are human. And because I no longer see you as only a sample. Daniel's chest tightened. The words were simple, but the weight of them pressed hard against him. He wanted to deny it, to call her a liar, yet her eyes betrayed no deceit. Only a dangerous truth. From that day forward, her visits changed. She no longer questioned only his body or his strength. She asked about his childhood, his family, his memories. She wanted to know about rain, about fire, about laughter. She wanted to hear him describe the sea, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of music. At night, when he lay on the glowing bed, Daniel told himself this was still an experiment. She was still studying him. But his heart argued differently. Her voice stayed with him long after she left, echoing in his chest like a secret song. The bond grew, unwanted yet undeniable. One evening, as he sat with his head in his hands, she entered quietly. She did not speak at first. Instead, she walked past him and sat on the floor, lowering herself until her crown dimmed. He stared in shock. A queen, lowering herself before anyone, was unthinkable. "Why are you sitting there?" he asked. Her reply was soft, almost human. "Because I want to understand what it feels like to sit beside you, not above you." The chamber was silent except for the sound of Daniel's breath. He wanted to push her away, to remind himself she was his captor. But instead, he felt something dangerous stirring in his chest. Something he could not stop. The bond was no longer her experiment. It was their reality. And Daniel knew, with a growing dread, that the more he saw her, the less he hated her. The Queen's presence had become constant. What began as visits turned into hours, then entire cycles. Daniel no longer sat alone in silence. She was there, speaking to him, watching him, asking questions that no scientist would ever ask. But outside the chamber, whispers began to grow. The alien court, once silent, now stirred with suspicion. The Queen ignored meetings. She delayed decisions. She left her council waiting while she spent her time in the chamber with a single human. For her people, it was unthinkable. For Daniel, it was terrifying. One day, he heard it himself. The wall rippled before she entered, and faint voices leaked through before ceilings shut. They were harsh and angry. He caught only fragments. Unfit, distracted, betrayal of her duty. When she stepped in, her face carried no fear, no weakness. But Daniel noticed her eyes. For the first time, they seemed heavier, shadowed by something more than curiosity. "You heard them," she said, her voice calm but steady. Daniel nodded slowly. "They don't like me here. Do they?" "They do not understand," she answered. Her gaze locked on him, sharp and unshakable. "They see a queen who is too close to a human. They believe I have grown weak." Daniel swallowed hard. "And are they wrong?" The question hung in the air like fire. For a moment she said nothing. Then she stepped closer, the glow of her crown casting soft light across his face. "Yes. They are wrong. They do not see the truth. I am not weaker. I am stronger because of you." Daniel's breath caught. He wanted to deny it, to push the words away, but his heart betrayed him. Each time she spoke to him, each time her eyes softened, the walls between them cracked a little more. That night she did not sit apart. She lowered herself onto the edge of his bed. The distance between them vanished. Daniel's chest tightened as her hand hovered near his, not quite touching, but close enough that the warmth spread into his skin. "You make me feel," she said softly. "Do you know how dangerous that is?" Daniel's voice was rough. "Dangerous for me or for you?" Her lips curved in a faint smile. "For both." The silence that followed was heavier than any chain. Daniel wanted to move, to pull away, but instead he found himself leaning closer, drawn into her gravity. He saw the faint light of her crown reflected in her eyes. He saw not a ruler, not a captor, but a woman who carried a fire she could no longer control. And then he understood. This was no longer about science. No longer about study. This was forbidden desire. The days that followed only confirmed it. She came more often. She spoke less like a queen and more like a companion. Sometimes she asked him to tell her stories of earth, of music, of rivers and mountains. Sometimes she sat in silence, as if only his presence was enough. But the council grew louder. Guards returned to the chamber, their expressions sharp with suspicion. Daniel felt their eyes on him every time he spoke. The queen dismissed them when she could, but the tension was clear. Her people were watching, waiting for her to break. One evening, when the guards finally left, Daniel turned to her. "They will not allow this forever. They will take me away. You know that." Her eyes flared with sudden fire. "They will not touch you. You cannot fight all of them," Daniel whispered. "I can," she replied, her voice low but fierce. "I am their queen. They will not dare." "But they already doubt you," Daniel pressed. "If you choose me over them, you could lose everything." For the first time, her voice trembled. Just slightly, but enough to shake him. "Then let it be lost." The words left Daniel speechless. He stared at her, searching her face for some sign of deceit, but there was none. Only truth. Only a desire that had grown too strong to hide. She reached out then, her hand brushing against his. The touch was gentle, yet it carried more power than any command. Daniel's breath quickened. His heart thundered. Every instinct told him to pull away, but his body betrayed him. He did not move. Their eyes locked. "Daniel," she said, his name soft on her lips, almost human. "I do not want to sample anymore. I do not want to study. I want you." The words shattered the air. Daniel closed his eyes, torn between fear and something far more dangerous. He was her prisoner, yet in that moment, he did not feel like one. He felt chosen. Desired. But desire, he knew, could destroy them both. As the silence stretched, he felt the weight of her people pressing on them, unseen but ever present. The bond between them was no longer hidden. It was alive, burning, and sooner or later, it would set everything around them on fire. The tension inside the alien vessel grew heavier with each passing cycle. Daniel felt it in the way guards lingered longer at the chamber door. He saw it in their cold stares, in the way they held their weapons tighter whenever he looked at them. The whispers of doubt had turned into something sharper. The council was no longer patient. One day, the queen entered, her crown glowing brighter than usual. Yet her steps carried a weight he had not seen before. Her eyes still found Daniel, but this time they were shadowed by storm. "They are moving against us," she said quietly. Daniel stood quickly, his chest tightening. "What do you mean, against us? What are they planning?" "They believe you weaken me," she replied. "They believe I have abandoned my throne for a human. They want to end this before it destroys the Empire." Fear cut through him like ice. "End this? You mean me?" The queen said nothing at first. Her silence was answer enough. Finally she spoke, her voice steady but sharp. "They will not take you. I will not allow it." But her words brought him no comfort. He knew she was powerful, but even she could not stand against an entire empire. That night, the rebellion revealed itself. The wall rippled open without warning. Soldiers stormed inside, their armor shining with silver light, their weapons raised. Daniel stumbled back as the chamber filled with the sound of energy blades igniting. "Step aside, my queen," their leader said, his voice ringing with authority. "This human has poisoned your judgment. He will be removed." Daniel's heart pounded as he pressed against the wall. He expected her to hesitate, to argue, maybe even to surrender. But she did not move. Instead, she stepped in front of him. Her crown burned like fire, her eyes blazing with fury. "You dare raise weapons in my presence?" The soldier lowered his head, but did not retreat. "We dare because you have forgotten who you are. You are our queen. You are not his protector. If you will not lead us, we will choose another." The words struck like thunder. Daniel's chest tightened. He looked at her, waiting for her to deny it, to reason with them. But her voice was steel. "I am your queen," she declared. And he is under my protection. If you touch him, you touch me. The chamber filled with silence. The soldiers shifted uneasily. None moved forward, yet none backed away. The air crackled with tension, a single breath away from war. Daniel's heart raced. He could not stay silent. You cannot do this, he whispered to her. They will kill you for me. Her eyes never left her soldiers, but her hand reached behind her, brushing against his. The touch was light, almost hidden, yet it sent a rush of heat through him. They will not kill me, she said softly. They fear me more than they hate you. The soldier at the front lowered his blade but raised his voice. This is madness. You are letting desire blind you. You risk our empire for one fragile creature. Finally, the queen turned her gaze fully on him. Her voice dropped into a tone that shook the walls. Do not mistake my choice for weakness. I do not protect him because he is fragile. I protect him because he matters. More than you will ever understand. Her words silenced the chamber. The soldiers shifted again, their confidence breaking under the weight of her command. Slowly, one by one, they lowered their weapons. The leader bowed his head, but his voice carried warning. This will not end here. The council will not remain silent. They will strike again. Let them, the queen replied, her voice unyielding. They will learn that even a queen can love, and she will not be broken. The soldiers withdrew, their steps heavy with defeat and anger. The wall sealed behind them, leaving only silence. Daniel let out a shaky breath. His body trembled as he looked at her. Why did you do that? You could have lost everything. She turned to him, her eyes softer now, though the fire still burned within them. Because I will not lose you. Her words struck deeper than any blade. Daniel stared at her, his mind torn between fear and something far stronger. He wanted to run, to escape the storm building around them. Yet every time he looked into her eyes, his resolve crumbled. She had chosen him over her empire. And he realized, with a weight he could not escape, that he was no longer just her prisoner. He was her rebellion. The tension inside the alien vessel grew heavier with each passing cycle. Daniel felt it in the way guards lingered longer at the chamber door. He saw it in their cold stares, in the way they held their weapons tighter whenever he looked at them. The whispers of doubt had turned into something sharper. The council was no longer patient. One day, the queen entered, her crown glowing brighter than usual. Yet her steps carried a weight he had not seen before. Her eyes still found Daniel, but this time they were shadowed by storm. They are moving against us, she said quietly. Daniel stood quickly, his chest tightening. What do you mean, against us? What are they planning? They believe you weaken me, she replied. They believe I have abandoned my throne for a human. They want to end this before it destroys the empire. Fear cut through him like ice. End this? You mean me? The queen said nothing at first. Her silence was answer enough. Finally she spoke, her voice steady but sharp. They will not take you. I will not allow it. But her words brought him no comfort. He knew she was powerful, but even she could not stand against an entire empire. That night, the rebellion revealed itself. The wall rippled open without warning. Soldiers stormed inside, their armor shining with silver light, their weapons raised. Daniel stumbled back as the chamber filled with the sound of energy blades igniting. Step aside, my queen, their leader said, his voice ringing with authority. This human has poisoned your judgment. He will be removed. Daniel's heart pounded as he pressed against the wall. He expected her to hesitate, to argue, maybe even to surrender. But she did not move. Instead, she stepped in front of him. Her crown burned like fire, her eyes blazing with fury. You dare raise weapons in my presence? The soldier lowered his head, but did not retreat. We dare because you have forgotten who you are. You are our queen. You are not his protector. If you will not lead us, we will choose another. The words struck like thunder. Daniel's chest tightened. He looked at her, waiting for her to deny it, to reason with them. But her voice was steel. I am your queen, she declared. And he is under my protection. If you touch him, you touch me. The chamber filled with silence. The soldiers shifted uneasily. None moved forward, yet none backed away. The air crackled with tension, a single breath away from war. Daniel's heart raced. He could not stay silent. You cannot do this, he whispered to her. They will kill you for me. Her eyes never left her soldiers, but her hand reached behind her, brushing against his. The touch was light, almost hidden, yet it sent a rush of heat through him. They will not kill me, she said softly. They fear me more than they hate you. The soldier at the front lowered his blade but raised his voice. This is madness. You are letting desire blind you. You risk our empire for one fragile creature. Finally, the queen turned her gaze fully on him. Her voice dropped into a tone that shook the walls. Do not mistake my choice for weakness. I do not protect him because he is fragile. I protect him because he matters. More than you will ever understand. Her words silenced the chamber. The soldiers shifted again, their confidence breaking under the weight of her command. Slowly, one by one, they lowered their weapons. The leader bowed his head, but his voice carried warning. This will not end here. The council will not remain silent. They will strike again. Let them, the queen replied, her voice unyielding. They will learn that even a queen can love, and she will not be broken. The soldiers withdrew, their steps heavy with defeat and anger. The wall sealed behind them, leaving only silence. Daniel let out a shaky breath. His body trembled as he looked at her. Why did you do that? You could have lost everything. She turned to him, her eyes softer now, though the fire still burned within them. Because I will not lose you. Her words struck deeper than any blade. Daniel stared at her, his mind torn between fear and something far stronger. He wanted to run, to escape the storm building around them. Yet every time he looked into her eyes, his resolve crumbled. She had chosen him over her empire. And he realized, with a weight he could not escape, that he was no longer just her prisoner. He was her rebellion. The rebellion did not end after the soldiers withdrew. The queen had won the battle inside the chamber, but Daniel could feel the war still waiting outside. The council would not stop. Every moment he remained in her care pushed her closer to ruin. He could not sleep. He lay on the glowing bed, staring at the ceiling where alien symbols shifted like restless stars. His heart twisted with fear and guilt. He was only a man, yet he had become the center of an empire's storm. The wall rippled softly. She entered in silence. The guards were gone. For once, she looked less like a ruler and more like a woman carrying a weight too heavy for anyone to bear. You have not rested, she said. Daniel sat up quickly. How can I rest, knowing what they plan? They will strike again. They will not stop until I am gone. Her eyes met his. Strong, defiant, but lined with something rare. Vulnerability. She stepped closer, her voice low. Then I will take you away. We will leave this place. You will be safe. The words hit him like fire. For the first time, escape was real. She could free him. She could send him back to Earth. He could walk under the sun again, breathe air that smelled of salt and rain, hear human voices, live a human life. But even as the dream rose in his chest, his heart sank. He looked at her, at the fierce light in her eyes, and realized the truth. If she sent him away, she would lose everything. Her crown, her people, her throne. She would be remembered not as a queen, but as a traitor to her empire. Why? Daniel whispered. Why would you give up everything for me? Her hand touched his cheek, light as breath. Because you have shown me what no crown ever could. You have shown me what it means to live, not only to rule. And now I cannot return to what I was before. Daniel closed his eyes. Her touch burned through him, a mix of comfort and fear. If I leave, they will destroy you. If I stay, they may destroy me. Either way, we lose. The silence that followed was sharp, cutting through the chamber. He could hear her breath, steady yet heavy with unspoken pain. Then we choose, she said at last. Not them. Us. The words shook him. He pulled away, pacing across the floor. This is madness. I am human. You are their queen. This, whatever this is, it cannot work. Her voice rose, not with anger, but with desperate strength. It already works. Do you not see it? You stand here alive because I chose you. You breathe because I defied them. That is more than fate. That is choice. And I will keep choosing you. Daniel stopped. His hands trembled. He wanted to scream, to demand she release him, yet the thought of leaving her clawed at him worse than the fear of staying. He turned, his voice breaking. And if I choose you, what then? What happens to us? She stepped closer, her crown dimming as if to soften her presence. Her voice lowered to almost a whisper. Then we face it together. No throne. No council. Only us. Whatever future waits, it will not matter, because it will be ours. Daniel's chest ached. He saw the truth in her eyes, the fire and the fragility. She was no longer a distant ruler. She was a woman who had given her heart to him, though it might cost her everything. He closed the space between them, his voice unsteady. Do you understand what you are asking me to give up? My world. My people. My life. Her answer was simple. Do you understand what I have already given up for you? The words silenced him. He felt the weight of her sacrifice pressing on his shoulders. The walls seemed to close in, the hum of the vessel louder than ever. He stood at the edge of two worlds. One path led to freedom, safety, and the life he once knew. The other led to her, to love, and to danger beyond anything he had faced. His hands trembled as he reached for hers. Her fingers curled around his, strong and unyielding. Their eyes locked, and the choice was no longer hidden. Daniel spoke softly, almost to himself, yet the chamber carried his words. Then I choose you. Her breath caught, a sound too human for a queen. For the first time, she closed the distance fully, pulling him into her embrace. Her armor was cold, but beneath it he felt warmth, fierce and real. In that moment, fear did not matter. The council did not matter. The empire did not matter. There was only them. But as the walls pulsed with light, Daniel knew their choice was not the end. It was the beginning of something far greater, and far more dangerous. Together, they had chosen each other. Now the world, human and alien alike, would decide what price they would pay.